the thing is that when we say, fine, I'll do it by myself, what is it that we're feeling inside? It's actually a feeling of closure, right? We're closing our heart. We are contracting ourselves. And it occurred to me that I had to remind myself that if the world disappoints me, and I do have to do it by myself, and I have this thought, I have to remember when I make that statement that it doesn't mean that it also excludes God. Hello, beautiful. How are you doing today? Have you ever had the experience, which I'm sure you have, so it's kind of just a rhetorical question and a way to start this video. Have you ever had the experience of things not going your way, of expectations just being dashed, of people not doing things they said they would do, and your reaction is, fine, I'll do it myself. And you kind of just go inward with that determination, that resolve, and you move from there. That's what I want to talk to you about today, because something happened to me this weekend and it triggered that. And because of my heightened awareness, my practically enlightened self had some new thoughts about that reaction and some things that we have to be mindful of, and maybe a different perspective to look at it. And although this happens to everybody in the world, I'm pretty sure, there is also kind of a, maybe an increased amount of that kind of occurrence in the life of highly sensitive people, empaths, adult, autistic, any kind of neurodivergent people, because we grew up being mostly misunderstood, being told that what we felt was not appropriate or that shouldn't be relied on. So that led to us isolating ourselves and getting into the habit of doing things more on our own. And it also created a situation where perhaps we have less of a support system because in part of that isolation. So that inner thought and disposition of thinking, fine, I'll do it myself, I'll do this alone and I'll make it, is more frequent for highly sensitive people, but it still applies to everybody. And I have a story about that, which led me to do this video. 2 videos ago, and I'll link it here, I did a video where part of the message was, we can't give up, even when we're depressed and we don't like our lives and we wish our lives were different. We can't give up because we never know what's around the corner. We never know if something is about to happen the next day, in 3 days, in 1 week. And so we always have to keep that hope alive, knowing that we don't know if we're right on the edge of something good happening. That very afternoon, I had something that was like miraculous, magical, and I thought, that's it. I just did the video about you never know what's going to happen, and then your life changes. So after I did the video, I went out to run some errands, and there were a whole bunch of unusual things that I did that led me to, one, stop somewhere and have a copy of my book in my truck, which I hadn't had for a couple of weeks because I always forgot to put one in the truck. Anyway, I pulled up somewhere and there was this spiritual speaker that I've been following for a while, that in the last year, I had this sign on my work area saying that this person was going to write a blurb, an endorsement for the cover of my book, to go right here. And I just pulled up and there he was. And I thought, wow, this is absolutely like divine orchestration. I couldn't have planned this myself because of all the weird things I did that day that made me show up exactly at the moment where he was on the sidewalk. And it was like, wow, this is fabulous. And then a week later, I had an event where he was speaking. And of course, I came in with a lot of expectations, thinking, well, oh yeah, when I met him on the sidewalk, we talked, I gave him a copy of my book, and it was like a nice little encounter. Forgot to say that part. So when I went to the event, my expectations were, well, we're going to talk about it. He's had time to take a look. He's going to mention it. I'm going to stand up, share something, mention my book, and everybody in the audience is going to buy it. And this is the beginning, this thing that happens that you don't know when your life is about to change. And the weekend went by and nothing of the sort happened. So that kind of left me a little bit dejected, but mostly the feeling that was in me when I left that event was fine. I'm going to do this myself. And this is when my new awareness, if you will, kicked in and a new thought came in. The thing is that when we say, fine, I'll do it by myself, what is it that we're feeling inside? It's actually a feeling of closure, right? We're closing our heart. We are contracting ourselves. And it occurred to me that I had to remind myself that if the world disappoints me, and I do have to do it by myself, and I have this thought, I have to remember when I make that statement that it doesn't mean that it also excludes God. Because if we say as a blanket statement, fine, I'll do it myself, I think we are sending the message to the universe that we don't need its help. We are telling God, I'm good, fine, I'm going to do it myself. And what does God say? What does the universe say? Okay, we hear you. You got it. A little interruption to the video. The video was recorded just a couple of days before I made an announcement on my first live on Saturday, 2 days ago. And I announced that I was going to offer VIP retreats. It's going to be for HSP women, 1 to 2 days for 1 to 3 people. So it's going to be a lot of intimate personal time with me here in beautiful Sedona. And more details are going to be coming up soon, but I wanted to make sure to bring this into this video. Back to the video. So that's kind of part one of what I realized. The second part was, it's a story that I've experienced before and that I actually heard someone else share with me this weekend. What is that deal when it seems like something like my encounter on the sidewalk, divinely orchestrated, and then it leads to nothing? To me, it made me feel like, what the F, universe? Why is it not happening? Why would you tease me like this and then take it away? I had a friend share with me that some time ago, she had in her prayer and in her manifestation, the visualization of the man that she wanted to be with. And she had seen what the house would look like and everything that surrounded it. And one day somebody set her up on a blind date and she ended up at the house of that guy. And she was like blown away because it was like, oh my God, this is the house I saw in my vision. This is the man that I envisioned, and a bunch of other details. So of course, when she walked in, she thought, that's it. This is my moment. And turned out that no, that wasn't the man. So she was also left with that feeling like, what the F? Like, this is not cool. There's another thing that happened in that same area of things with my book. At some point, I had an agent, like a prominent agent that represented Eckhart Tolle and Jean Houston and Neil Donald Walsh, call me and say, oh my God, I've been in this business 30 years. I just read portions of your book and I haven't been excited about a book in 10 years like I am for yours right now. When I received that phone call, I wept, I found peace, and I thought, wow, this is happening. And then nothing happened. And I thought the same thing, like, what the F? Like, why would the universe put this in my path, bring all my hopes up, only to like pull the rug from under and just leave you in the same spot where you were before? So here's what I want to bring up about this. Why did it happen like that? We don't know. Some things are bigger than ourselves. Maybe sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, if you want to believe that it's just haphazard and things happen, are taken away, come in, come out. Maybe that's it. But there's a different way to look at it. We don't know why these things happen. But I do believe that the universe is not cruel. There's not a cruelty agenda in God's heart or the universe's heart. So we have to be careful not to take it negatively, saying to ourselves that we didn't do enough, there's something we're doing wrong, and all that crap. How about this twist? How about we look at it in the sense that the universe, God, is showing us our power? How about when we manifest the house we wanted with the man we wanted in it, or woman, and we see it, it's the universe reinforcing and reminding us of our power. What if when we meet an influencer that we wanted to meet and give them their book, and we meet them on a sidewalk, it's not actually about the outcome, it's God reminding us of our own power? How about when an agent tells you you're the best thing to come around in 10 years and then everything just kind of fizzles out? It's not that we're a victim of the whims of God that has like painful designs for us. It's to remind us of our own power of manifestation, remind us that we are co-creators and that we are valuable constituents of this world and that we have something to say in what happens. The timing of it is not for us to know. Time is a human construct. I believe God, the universe, spirit, has a different non-timeline that we don't understand. But let's avoid going through these experiences, coming down, feeling like less than, rather than more empowered. So the two takeaways from this is, one, for all of you HSPs and other people who tell yourself, fine, I'll do it myself. That's okay, but don't forget to include God. More like, fine, God and I, we're going to do this together. Maybe we don't need you, but God and I, we're going to do it together. And as soon as we do that, instead of our hearts contracting, it opens up. And when we open our hearts, we're open to the harmony and the possibilities that exist in the universe. So let's do it with God, and let's remember that we are co-creators, even when things suck. Not that we created the suckiness, but that we have an option to think of us still as co-creators and to expect that we can create good things for ourselves. So the one big takeaway of those two instances, when we say, fine, I'll do it myself, and when we think that the universe is pulling a cruel joke on us, is just, let's stay open. Let's beware of closing our hearts, because when we close our heart, we close ourselves to everything, and everything has a lot of goodness in it. Let's stay open. And my little PBS announcement, I have a bunch of stories like this in my book. Take a look, it's on Amazon. You can download some chapters for free on my website and on the link that I'll put up here and as well in the video description. If you're finding value in this, please share the videos, share the channel. We are building a community. It feels wonderful. We are kindred souls and we need each other. and let's continue to grow this together and be there for one another. I love you. I'll see you soon. Bye.